What's up again, everybody? Tomorrow is the big day, the Calling DFW, the Calling Dallas. If you want to watch it, check out the stream that's going to be going on tomorrow. But today, I want to talk to you about my opinions and my thoughts on what decks are going to be seeing heavy play and what decks are going to be successful in the Calling DFW meta. It's interesting because some of these I think are just purely correct, like, duh, this is the best hero, and some of these are simply US meta calls. So let's break it down. I'm going to give you 6 heroes to keep an eye on. One of them might surprise you as the clickbait goes. And you know what else may surprise you? That's how easy it is to get a quality education from today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country, and that includes their game development program. In this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. You can also learn 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. Look at that sweet, sweet texture. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experiences that you can ask them about and learn from. And SNHU is radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So go to SNHU/DM ARMADA. The link is in the description. Check out the degree programs available. Take a look at the current average annual salary for a game design programmer, and go ahead and request free information about the program. Thank you so much to SNHU for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to it. Starting with, not this one. I feel like this one shouldn't be a surprise. It literally just won the last calling in Taipei, and that's Aelia Ace in the Hole. Look, here's the thing. Aelia has been solid across the board for a while now. Unfortunately overshadowed almost completely by the better of the 3 Rangers. I should even say 2 Rangers, because do we even count the third one? Which is kind of funny. But the better of the 3 Rangers, or best of the 3 Rangers, in the form of Lexi. She has been sort of overshadowed by that, and you couple that along with the sort of downturn in belief in her ability to play around things like Warmonger's diplomacy, and it makes sense why people would maybe put Aelia on the back burner. But she has proven this past weekend that she does not belong there, that she can play around things like Warmonger's diplomacy, and that if that card kind of starts to go away and fall out of use, she can just surge back into popularity. She does insane things, and I would say perhaps more than even Icelander, she makes it to where you can't play the game against her if she can connect with her powerful Red in the Ledger turns, or even like Remorseless to some degree. All of these on-hit effects that she has are, and really Rangers in general have, are some of the most terrifying in the game, and she proved it last weekend. So I expect to see more people picking this deck up and running it out there after its recent proved success. I think the US in general really likes to take decks and try to push them to their limits after they've shown some success and proven some success. So I think that's what's going to happen here with Aelia. So I expect to see a good number of Aelias tomorrow and throughout the weekend at the Calling DFW alongside Dromi. This one is sort of a no-brainer pick in a lot of respects. Dromi has been looking to be better and better over the past few months, but really gets the biggest spike in popularity simply off of the back of the brand new tome. Is it warranted? That's the real interesting question, because the tome is a good card. It is straight up just a just above rate card and can do insane things for Dromi, but I do think the often overlooked aspect of playing the tome is giving up Crown of Providence in a deck that wants to be incredibly efficient and incredibly just careful and meticulous with her play. Dromi's cool because she's very flexible. You play out this board of dragons and you say your opponent has to deal with this, or you can deal with the attacks that I put out there, but I can protect myself and then attack you with dragons. I can protect my hand off of Crown of Providence, find the hand that I need, and then attack. But Dromi is in one of those interesting situations that this card forces you to play her differently, and that's the sticking point. I feel like she's going to be perhaps the most played hero at the tournament. plus or minus some Lexis, but I feel like she's going to be the most played hero just because her power level is getting more and more up there, and she has a fine matchup, not great, but fine matchup into Lexi, and a generally plus matchup into Aelia, plus some other good matchups in general. The question will be, can she take it into the top 8 and actually do some things? And if you're looking at, recent success, she did make it into the top 8 in 2 different forms at the Calling Taipei, and she's being played at a very efficient rate with a very efficient list. So I'm not surprised to put her here, and I do expect to see her doing well this weekend. But I'm a little bit like, that on the Dromi side of things. I kind of want someone to prove it and just straight up win with her this weekend. So Mara, that's you. On to a contentious one. Now, KATU's interesting because I believe KATU very much preys on Dromi in a lot of respects, and if Dromi is coming out in droves, I feel like KATU should as well. And KATU's interesting because KATU also plays rather well into Lexi, which is perhaps the other best deck or really the other most represented deck in the format. It's the best deck in the format, but it's also the most represented. And if KATU plays well into it, then why not KATU? Why not let it fly with the OG Ninja himself? He feels quite good right now in the meta, and especially against some of the dark horse picks that you could be facing down. KATU just makes a ton of sense right now, and he's sort of been getting close to that top 8, and then in some situations, in some battle hardens recently, popping into the top 8. KATU's one of those that I feel like if the format is Dromi heavy, most benefits from that being the case. You could also argue Bravo, and this spot to me was the most contentious. I almost put Azuri in this list right here for the idea that it preys or has just a positive matchup in general into Lexi, but I instead went with KATU because I am making the call that Dromi is going to be very highly represented, and therefore I think and I believe that KATU should be highly represented as well to sort of prey on that and just try and target the meta that is sort of forming out of the perhaps reluctance to continue to play Lexi, the best deck in the format, which, by the way, is going to continue to be highly repped, especially here in the US. I think US is really going to continue to just push Lexi as far as we can go, simply because it's really strong and it is really prevalent and it has great matchups all around. But it's interesting. I feel like people slowly but surely are just saying, you know what, Lexi is on the way out. It's time to practice something else. It's time to pick up something else and play something else. So her numbers are starting to come down a little bit in comparison to something else. But I also think that there are counterplay scenarios with a lot of these heroes that we've talked about up to this point. I think KATU doesn't necessarily have a bad matchup into Lexi, and neither does Dromi to some degree. And the same thing can be said for Aelia, even though you don't see Aelia versus Lexi played as much. I think it's actually pretty solid for Aelia. So overall, I feel like Lexi isn't in that like dominating meta share that she could be in, simply because people are kind of tired of playing her and ready to move on, and also that the matchups overall are actually not terribly in her favor in comparison to what you might think, knowing that she's the best deck in the format. So that being said, she's going to be represented, and you have to know how to play against Lexi as well as you do against Icelander. Now, Icelander is really falling off in popularity and in some respects falling off as far as overall like finishes, though she did just win or get into the sort of top 2 in these past battle hardens that happened recently. No showings in the calling top 8 that happened in Taipei, if I remember correctly. I don't believe she popped into the top 8 there, and I do think that she's coming down in play as well. I think she's going to get run out there, especially in the US, by specialists that are going to do quite well with her. And that is the dangerous part, is that Icelander, as long as she's here, is always a threat to just destroy the field. And if you put an Icelander into the top 8, especially here, and this is just me knowing the meta here in this area, especially in this area of the US, I would have a hard time betting against an Icelander in the top 8. straight up, because, well, there's a lot of people that really like Icelander. There's a lot of people that really play into this. And if you didn't know, I'm local in DFW. And I just feel like people are going to travel in. Specialists are going to come in and play Icelander. And it may not see a ton of meta share, but if one gets into the top 8, it is very, it's very hard for me to bet against Icelander in the top 8. She's just that good and that consistent. And I, for one, am really excited to see her hit the old dusty trail, even though I really like her as a character. And I really think she's very cool, pun intended. The disruption aspect and the consistency of Bullander just makes me go, I don't know. I wish she were more wizardy. At the end of it all, wizardy would be very cool for me. Nevertheless, I do think that some people are going to bring her and play her, and they're going to be very good at playing Icelander, and they're going to do very well on the day. And finally, that brings me to the last pick, and this is the one that I bet you some of you might not think of or agree with, but we need a control deck in this meta. And you may say Azuri, and you might be right. And you may say Bravo, and I would be like, not really a control deck. It's more of just like this sort of really good blocking tempo deck. I don't know how you'd best describe that. But I'd say Dash fits that bill. And Tree Frog Dash specifically. If you don't know what Tree Frog Dash is, it's just Control Dash. It's just a fun name that we came up with many years ago. I didn't personally come up with it. Now I just use it. But I think Dash now has even more tools at her disposal to be very controlling, very efficient, and put people on blast as far as what they're playing and if they have a game plan into her. I think that's the biggest thing. There are not a lot of decks that really have a full-fledged game plan into her at this moment, I would assume. Tell me if I'm wrong in a comment below. If you are going to the Calling DFW and you are going to sit down and you're going to jam out games and you know exactly what you're doing and you have cards and all that sort of stuff sideboarded specifically for Control Dash, tell me in a comment below, because I think you're like one of the only people out there that's maybe thinking that. And it could be that you're part of a testing team, but I'm just saying this as a sort of intuition gut feeling. I feel like Control Dash has some real legs in this format, and I would very much like to see someone take Tree Frog Dash, slam it down onto the sort of list as you submit your list, and then just run the table for like 2 days straight on Control Dash. I think it would be quite interesting and quite eye-opening if she can pull it off. But you could also just say maybe not even control, maybe just like pure boost, and boost just gets there super aggro and it just races all of the other decks. To me, though, I think Control Dash is the real kind of dark horse of the meta right now and of this sort of unfolding meta. And I could be totally wrong on that, but it feels quite like the case. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much to everyone that made this number climb slightly higher. Keep it locked here because I might be doing a fun little giveaway for you to play along with. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.